Welcome, friend. Tonight we will walk a quiet path together, you and I. The day has ended, and all its noise has begun to fade. Your breath is already finding its rhythm, gentle and unforced. There is nowhere you need to be right now except here, in this moment. The weight of your body settles into softness as the world outside continues without you. This is your time to rest, to listen, to simply be. Close your eyes if you have not already done so. Let the darkness behind your eyelids become a field of calm. Notice how the breath moves in and out, like waves arriving and departing from shore. You do not need to change anything about yourself or your experience right now. Peace is not something distant that must be earned through effort or understanding. It is already present, waiting beneath the surface of your thoughts like still water. Tonight, we will uncover that stillness together through stories that have travelled across centuries. These are tales from temples and mountain paths, from monks and wanderers who discovered something timeless. They speak not of achievement, but of release, not of gaining, but of letting go. Imagine now that you are sitting in a small room lit by a single candle. The flame barely moves, casting gentle shadows on bare wooden walls. Outside, a soft rain begins to fall, tapping lightly against the roof. The sound is rhythmic, soothing, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. In this room, there is nothing you must do, no question you must answer. You are simply here, breathing, listening, allowing the night to hold you. The stories I will share are not lessons to be studied or remembered. They are invitations to feel something deeper, to recognize a truth you already know. Let them wash over you like that rain, like the breath itself. And when morning comes, you may not recall the details of what was spoken here, but something within you will have shifted, softened, opened. That is enough. That has always been enough. Long ago, in a monastery nestled between mountains, there lived a monk who had lost his sight. He was known throughout the region not for his wisdom or meditation, although he possessed both. He was known because he was the most skilled calligrapher in the province. People travelled great distances to commission works from him, poems and sutras rendered in graceful brushstrokes. Other monks would marvel at his ability, wondering how blindness had not stolen his gift. When visitors asked him how he maintained such precision without seeing, he would smile and say nothing. His silence only deepened their curiosity and respect. One autumn, a young scholar arrived at the monastery, carrying scrolls and ambition. He had studied calligraphy for years under celebrated masters and had come to challenge the blind monk. In his mind, it was impossible that someone without sight could truly understand the art. He believed the old monk's reputation was inflated by sentiment and superstition. The abbot arranged for them to work side by side in the meditation hall. Each would create a piece, and the community would judge which held more life. The scholar chose a passage about the beauty of cherry blossoms in spring. He worked with meticulous care, every stroke calculated, every curve refined. His hand moved with practiced elegance, and he felt certain of his victory. The blind monk sat quietly for a long time before beginning, feeling the texture of the paper. Then he dipped his brush and moved with a fluidity that seemed almost careless. There was no hesitation, no correction, no visible thought between intention and action. When both were finished, the scrolls were hung side by side on the wall. The scholar's work was technically flawless, every character perfectly balanced and aligned. It was the product of years of discipline and control. But the blind monk's calligraphy seemed to breathe, each stroke alive with movement and space. It was as if the ink itself had decided where to flow. The community stood in silence, and the scholar felt a tightness in his chest. He could see the difference, but could not name it. Later, as the scholar prepared to leave, the blind monk invited him to sit. They shared tea as the rain continued its soft rhythm outside. The scholar finally asked what he had been holding back since the morning. How do you do it without seeing? He wanted to know. The blind monk poured more tea and spoke slowly. When I had sight, he said, I tried to control every stroke, every movement. I wanted each character to match the image in my mind, but blindness took that possibility away, and I thought I had lost everything. For months I did not touch a brush. Then one day I realized something. I had been so focused on seeing the outcome that I forgot to feel the process. The brush moving across paper, the way ink spreads into fibres, the breath in my body. These were always there, but I had ignored them while chasing perfection. Now when I write, I do not try to create beauty. I simply allow my hand to move as it wants to move. I listen to the paper, to the brush, to the ink, and something happens that I could never force into being. The scholar sat with this for a long time, the tea growing cool. He understood intellectually, but the knowing had not yet moved from his head to his hands. The blind monk could sense his struggle and smiled gently. You will continue to practice, he said, and that is good. But when you are ready, try this. Close your eyes and write without seeing, not to test your skill, but to release it. Write as if the characters do not matter, as if no one will ever see what you create, and notice what emerges when you stop demanding it. The scholar left that evening and travelled home with the monk's words following him. It would be years before he understood them fully, but the seed had been planted. And somewhere in the space between control and chaos, between sight and blindness, true mastery waited quietly. This story holds something essential for us tonight, as we rest here in the dark. So often we approach life the way the young scholar approached his art. We believe that peace comes through control, that happiness requires perfect conditions. We tighten our grip on outcomes, relationships, plans, trying to shape everything into the image we hold. But this tightness itself becomes the obstacle. The blind monk discovered that true skill emerges not from forcing, but from listening. When he stopped trying to see, he learned to feel. When he released his attachment to the result, his hand found its natural grace. This is the paradox at the heart of so much suffering. We think we must make ourselves peaceful through effort and will, but peace is what remains when we stop struggling, when we release our grip. Notice your breath again now. You are not creating it or controlling it. The body breathes itself without your intervention. This is how life moves when we allow it, with an intelligence deeper than thought. Where in your life do you hold on too tightly, friend? Where do you exhaust yourself trying to force an outcome, to maintain an image? These questions are not demands for answers, but invitations to notice. Let them float gently through your awareness as the rain continues outside your window. The blind monk teaches us that sometimes loss opens doors that control keeps locked. When we lose our grip on how things should be, we discover how things are. And in that discovery, a different kind of beauty reveals itself, unplanned and unexpected. Rest in this knowing for a moment. Allow your body to soften further into the bed beneath you. The pillow supports your head. The blankets hold warmth around you. Nothing is required of you right now except this gentle presence. In another time, in another temple, there lived a cat who had become famous. This was unusual because cats were often seen as disturbances in places of meditation, but this particular cat had earned the affection of everyone in the community. The story of how this happened is worth knowing as we continue our quiet journey tonight. The temple sat at the edge of a village surrounded by gardens and stone paths. The monks who lived there were devoted to their practice, sitting in meditation for hours each day. They took their discipline seriously, maintaining silence and stillness with great care. But there was one persistent problem that no amount of discipline seemed to solve. A stray cat had begun visiting the meditation hall during evening sessions. She would walk through the room, weaving between the seated monks, sometimes rubbing against their robes or sitting directly in front of them. The monks tried to ignore her, but her presence was undeniably distracting. Some of them felt their concentration break the moment she appeared. Others found themselves anticipating her arrival, which only pulled them further from stillness. The head monk, a stern but kind-hearted man, decided that the cat must be tied up during the evening meditation. He fashioned a soft collar and attached her to a post outside the hall. The cat seemed content enough, and the meditations proceeded without interruption. The monks felt a collective relief, their practice restored to its proper form. Years passed, and this arrangement became routine. Tie up the cat before meditation, release her afterward. No one questioned it anymore, because it had always been that way. Eventually, the head monk grew old and passed away peacefully in his sleep. A new head monk took his place, a younger man who had trained at the same temple. He maintained all the traditions exactly as they had been, including the tying of the cat. More years went by, and eventually the cat herself died of old age. The monks held a small ceremony for her because, despite the inconvenience, she had become part of their life. But then a problem emerged that no one had anticipated. Without the cat, the evening meditation felt incomplete, ungrounded. The monks realized with some embarrassment that they had come to associate their practice with the ritual of tying her up. It had become a signal, a threshold they crossed into stillness. So they found another cat, a young one from the village, and brought her to the temple. They tied her up each evening before meditation, and order was restored. Decades later, a scholar visited the temple to study with the monks. He was deeply impressed by their devotion and discipline, but found himself puzzled by one particular practice. Each evening, before meditation, someone would ceremonially tie a cat to a post outside the hall. He asked why this was done and received a vague answer about tradition. Curious, he began to investigate and eventually uncovered the original story. When he explained the history to the current head monk, they both sat in stunned silence. The practice that had begun as a practical solution to distraction had transformed into ritual. The means had replaced the meaning entirely, and no one had noticed because they had inherited it without question. The scholar asked the head monk what he thought this meant, what lesson it held. The monk was quiet for a long time, watching the cat clean her paws in the evening light. Then he spoke slowly, weighing each word. "We believe we are honouring the past by repeating its forms," he said, "but sometimes we are only repeating its containers while the truth inside has evaporated." The first monks tied the cat to solve a problem, to remove distraction. We tie the cat because we think it is what monks do. We have forgotten the why and clung to the what. This happens not only in temples, but everywhere, in families, in communities, in our own minds. We carry forward habits and beliefs because they were once useful, or because we saw others do them, but we never pause to ask if they still serve us, if they still contain life. That night, the temple held a meeting. After much discussion, they decided to stop tying the cat. She was allowed to wander freely during meditation, and the monks were invited to work with whatever arose. Some evenings she slept quietly in the corner. Other evenings she walked through the hall, and the monks practiced accepting her presence without resistance. Over time, the distraction dissolved because they stopped treating it as one. The cat was simply part of the evening, like the sound of wind or the smell of incense, and the practice deepened because it had returned to its original purpose, to cultivate presence and acceptance. This story asks us to examine what we carry without questioning. So much of our suffering comes not from what is happening, but from our unexamined responses to it. We repeat patterns learned long ago in childhood or early adulthood without noticing they no longer fit. We tie invisible cats before every meditation, every relationship, every new beginning. The original reason is forgotten, but the habit persists. Think gently now about your own life, about the rituals and beliefs you inherited. Some of them have served you beautifully and still do, but others may be like the tied cat, forms without living content. Perhaps there is a voice in your head that says you must always be productive. Perhaps there is a belief that rest is earned only through exhaustion. These are old stories, passed down and internalized until they feel like truth. But they are not truth, they are habits, and habits can be released once we see them clearly. The monks in the temple discovered freedom not by eliminating the cat, but by changing their relationship to her. They stopped resisting and started allowing. This is the movement toward peace, from resistance to acceptance. You can practice this right now with whatever you feel in your body or mind. If there is tension, notice it without trying to fix it. If there is restlessness, observe it without judgment. Let these sensations be the cat walking through your meditation hall. They are not problems to solve, but experiences to hold with gentleness. The breath continues in and out, just as it has since you were born. It asks nothing of you except to notice it, to let it be what it is. And in that noticing, something softens. The need to control begins to fade. The world keeps turning, and you are held by something larger than your effort. There is a village story I want to share with you now, one that unfolds slowly like dawn. It will carry us deeper into the night, into the heart of what these teachings offer. Let yourself drift as you listen, not holding on to words, but letting them flow through you. In a time long past, there was a village elder known for his equanimity. No matter what happened, good or ill, he responded with the same calm phrase, "We shall see." His neighbours found this both admirable and frustrating in equal measure. One summer, the elder's son received a wild horse as a gift, a valuable animal. The villagers congratulated him on his good fortune, calling it a blessing. The elder simply nodded and said, "We shall see." Weeks later, the son was training the horse and was thrown violently, breaking his leg. The villagers came to express their sympathy, shaking their heads at such terrible luck. The elder tended to his son's wound and said again, "We shall see." The next month, the emperor's army arrived to conscript all young men for a distant war. Because of his broken leg, the elder's son was passed over and stayed home. The villagers marvelled at how fortunate the injury had turned out to be. The elder poured tea and repeated, "We shall see." This pattern continued through seasons and years, each event revealing unexpected consequences. The villagers slowly learned to hold their judgments more lightly, waiting to see what would unfold. The elder was not indifferent to joy or sorrow. He laughed at weddings and wept at funerals, but underneath the emotions there was a steadiness, a refusal to collapse each moment into a fixed story. He had learned through long experience that life moves in ways too complex for the mind to grasp. What appears as tragedy may seed future growth. What seems like blessing may bring unforeseen challenges. To label things too quickly is to live in a narrow hallway of interpretation. The elder chose instead to live in the vast open field of not knowing. His equanimity came not from detachment, but from profound humility before life's mystery. One winter evening, a young woman came to him in distress. Her marriage had ended painfully, and she felt her life was ruined beyond repair. The elder invited her to sit by the fire and drink warm broth. He listened as she poured out her grief and fear. When she finally grew quiet, exhausted, she asked him what she should do. The elder watched the flames dance and said, "Your heart is broken open right now. That is real and should be honoured. But do not rush to close the story of your life. You cannot yet see where this road leads." He told her about his own youth, about losses that had carved him hollow, how those hollow places later became vessels for new kinds of love and understanding, how the self he thought he was had to crumble before a truer self could emerge. "All this takes time," he said, "and the pain you feel now is not the end. It is the breaking open that precedes transformation." The young woman did not feel immediately comforted, but something in her softened. She had been holding her suffering as evidence of permanent failure. The elder's words opened a small window, letting in the possibility that she was in process, not in conclusion. She thanked him and walked home through the snow, the night sky vast above her. Years turned, and the young woman's life did indeed transform in ways she could not have imagined. The end of her marriage led her to a new city, to work that fulfilled her, to friends who saw her truly. She met the elder again when both were older, and they laughed together at the strange pathways of fate. But by then she had her own stories of unexpected turns, of closed doors that revealed open windows. She had learned what the elder knew, that life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. The story of the elder and his phrase, "We shall see," invites us into a different relationship with experience. Most of us move through life labeling things constantly, good or bad, wanted or unwanted. We grasp at pleasant experiences and push away painful ones. This creates a kind of exhausting dance, a constant negotiation with reality. But what if we could hold things more lightly, more spaciously? Not with indifference, but with curiosity and trust. What if we could say to ourselves in moments of difficulty, "I do not yet know what this means." The ending has not been written. This is not resignation or passivity. It is a radical openness to possibility. It is the humility to admit that our perspective is limited, that we see only a small portion of the pattern. The elder's wisdom came from recognizing this limit and making peace with it. He did not need to understand everything to trust the process of life itself. You can bring this quality into your own experience right now as you rest here. Notice how the mind wants to label this moment, to judge it as restful or restless, peaceful or agitated. What if you could let those labels dissolve and simply be with what is? Not deciding if it is good or bad, but feeling it as sensation and breath. The in-breath arrives, the out-breath departs. We shall see what the next breath brings. This simple phrase becomes a doorway into acceptance, into the spaciousness that holds all things without needing to fix them. It is the opposite of the anxious mind that wants to control and predict. It is the trusting mind that knows it is held by something larger. As we move deeper into the night together, I want to acknowledge that you have chosen to be here. In a world of endless distraction, you have set aside this time to listen and rest. That choice itself is a form of practice, a quiet rebellion against the frenzy of constant doing. If these teachings bring you peace, if this voice guides you into stillness, you are welcome to return whenever you wish. There is a place here for you, a small sanctuary of calm you can visit on any night when sleep feels distant. You might choose to subscribe so these stories find you easily, a gentle reminder that rest is always possible. But there is no pressure, no demand. This offering exists whether you return or not, like a temple that stands regardless of who enters. The teaching continues, the breath continues, with or without our attention. And that is part of what we are learning tonight, that peace does not depend on our management of it. Now let us continue walking this quiet path together. In ancient times, there was a monastery where hundreds of sacred texts were kept. These texts had been copied by hand over generations, each one a labour of devotion. The library was the monastery's greatest treasure, visited by scholars and monks from distant lands. Among the monks was an elderly librarian who had spent his entire adult life caring for these texts. He knew the location of every scroll, the history of every manuscript. His identity had become inseparable from his role as guardian of this wisdom. He took pride in the order and preservation of the collection, and his days were spent in quiet satisfaction. One autumn night, a fire started in the kitchen and spread quickly through the wooden buildings. The monks woke to smoke and flames, and chaos erupted as everyone scrambled to safety. The librarian ran toward the library, his only thought to save the texts. By the time he reached it, the fire had already engulfed one wall. The heat was immense, the smoke choking. Other monks shouted for him to leave, but he plunged inside. He grabbed as many scrolls as he could carry and staggered out, gasping. Then he went back in again and again, rescuing what he could. On his final attempt, part of the roof collapsed, blocking the entrance. The librarian stood outside, covered in ash, watching as the library burned completely. Decades of preservation, centuries of wisdom, gone in a matter of hours. The other monks gathered around him, some weeping, others stunned into silence. They expected the old librarian to collapse in grief or rage, but instead, after a long quiet moment, he began to laugh. It was not a bitter or hysterical laugh, but something gentler, almost tender. The monks looked at him with confusion and concern. One of them asked if he was all right. The librarian wiped his eyes and nodded, still smiling. "I spent 50 years protecting those texts," he said. "I believed my purpose was to keep them safe, to prevent exactly this from happening, and now they are gone, and I am still here. So what was I really protecting?" The younger monks did not understand. How could he laugh at such a loss? But the abbot, who had known the librarian for many years, saw what was happening. He placed a hand on the old monk's shoulder and waited. The librarian continued, his voice steady despite the surrounding devastation. "I thought the texts were the teaching," he said. "I thought wisdom was something written on paper, something that could be burned or lost. But tonight I have learned that the teaching is not in the scrolls. It is in the mind that reads them, in the heart that understands them. The fire has taken the containers, but the truth they held remains. It is here, in this moment, in this breath. I am free of them now, and they are free of me." The monks stood in the smoky dawn, the ruins of the library still smouldering. Some of them understood immediately what the librarian had realized. Others would need time to digest it. But something had shifted in the community that night, an unspoken recognition that they had been confusing the map for the territory. The texts were valuable, yes, but they were not the destination. They were fingers, pointing at the moon, and the monks had been staring at the fingers. In the weeks that followed, the monastery rebuilt without replacing the library. Instead, they emphasized direct practice, meditation, and teaching through conversation and example. The librarian, now freed from his role as guardian, became one of the most insightful teachers in the community. He would sit with students and speak from his own understanding rather than quoting ancient authorities. His teaching had a quality of immediacy and authenticity that the scrolls, for all their beauty, could never quite capture. People would ask him if he missed the library, if he felt regret. He would always answer the same way. "I do not miss what is gone, because it taught me to see what is here." The fire was a great teacher. It showed me that I was clinging not to wisdom, but to the appearance of wisdom. I was attached to my role as protector, to the identity it gave me. When that was taken away, I discovered I was not less but more. Years later, a young monk asked him what the most important text in the library had been. The librarian thought for a moment and then laughed again, that same gentle laugh from the night of the fire. "The most important text," he said, "was the one that burned, because it taught me that no text is necessary. Everything you need is already inside you, waiting to be recognized. The words we read are just invitations to look inward, to discover what we already know." This story speaks to something we all carry, the tendency to confuse the form with the essence. We cling to objects, roles, identities, beliefs, thinking they define us or contain the meaning we seek. But these are all temporary, subject to change and loss. The librarian's attachment to the scrolls was not wrong. It was human and understandable. But it was also a limitation, a way of placing his sense of worth and purpose outside himself. The fire, in its terrible swiftness, gave him an unexpected gift. It destroyed his attachment and revealed the indestructible truth underneath. This is a pattern we see again and again in spiritual traditions, the idea that loss can be a doorway to freedom. When we lose what we thought we needed, we discover what we actually are. The grief is real, the pain is real, But on the other side of that pain is a kind of lightness, a release from the burden of holding so tightly. Think about what you carry, friend, as you rest here in the dark. What are the scrolls in your own life, the things you protect and identify with? Perhaps it is a role, a relationship, a belief about who you should be. Perhaps it is an achievement, a possession, a version of yourself you have worked hard to maintain. These things are not bad and you need not abandon them, but notice if you are clinging to them, if your peace depends on their preservation, because anything we cling to becomes a source of fear. We know it can be taken, and so we live in subtle dread of that loss. The librarian's laugh was the sound of liberation, the recognition that he had been holding something that did not need holding. And in releasing it, he found a deeper stability, one that could not be burned or destroyed. You can practice this release in small ways even now. Notice the thoughts and feelings moving through you. See if you can let them arise and pass without grasping or pushing. They are like clouds, temporary formations in the sky of awareness. They do not define you. They simply visit for a time and move on. The breath is your anchor in this practice. It has no agenda, no attachment. It simply breathes you in and out, regardless of what the mind is doing. Come back to it whenever you feel pulled into struggle or story. Let it remind you of what is essential, what cannot be taken away. The night holds you now, and you need protect nothing. The only fire here is the gentle warmth of your own presence. There is another story I want to share, one that moves slowly like a river. It will guide us further into stillness, into the heart of acceptance and compassion. Listen with your body as much as your mind, letting the words find their own place inside you. Long ago there was a renowned master of archery who lived high in the mountains. His skill was legendary, and many students travelled great distances to learn from him. He would take only a few apprentices at a time, those who showed not just talent, but humility. One year, a young man arrived at the master's door with impressive credentials. He had trained under other teachers, won competitions, and possessed natural ability. He was confident, perhaps overly so, and believed he would quickly master whatever the old man had to teach. The master accepted him as a student and asked him to demonstrate his skill. The young man took his bow and hit the centre of the target with ease again and again. He looked at the master expectantly, waiting for praise. The master nodded and handed him a different bow, one that was old and worn. "Try with this one," he said. The young man was puzzled, but complied. The bow was difficult to handle, unbalanced and awkward. His shots scattered around the target, missing the centre entirely. He felt frustration rise in his chest, but tried to hide it. The master watched without comment. That evening, as they sat by the fire, the master spoke. "You have great skill," he said. "Your technique is refined, your aim is true, but you have learned only to hit the target, not to release the arrow." The young man frowned, unsure what the distinction meant. The master continued, his voice soft in the firelight. "When you shoot, you are focused entirely on the outcome. You want to hit the centre, to prove your skill, to succeed. This tension lives in your body even though you do not see it. It shapes every movement, every breath. You are not shooting, you are trying to shoot. And that trying is a kind of violence, a refusal to trust." The young man wanted to argue, but sensed there was something here he did not yet understand. So he asked the master to teach him what he meant. The master agreed, but with a condition. For 1 month, you will not aim at the target. You will practice drawing the bow and releasing the arrow without any concern for where it goes. You will focus only on your breath, your posture, and the feeling of release. The young man found this instruction absurd, but agreed to follow it. Day after day he drew the bow and let arrows fly randomly into the forest. It felt pointless, childish. He could hear his arrows landing in bushes, against trees, nowhere near where he intended. His mind screamed that he was wasting time, that he was losing the precision he had worked years to develop. But the master insisted he continue. Every morning they would practice together in silence. The master would demonstrate the draw, the pause, the release. His movements were so fluid they barely looked like effort, more like breath made visible. The young man tried to imitate this quality, but found himself constantly judging his own performance. The master would remind him gently, "You are still aiming, even when there is no target. Let go of the need to control." Weeks passed, and something began to shift. The young man noticed that when he stopped trying to achieve, his body found a different rhythm. The draw became smooth, the release felt effortless. He was no longer fighting the bow, but cooperating with it. There was a sensation of rightness that had nothing to do with hitting a target. It was the rightness of alignment, of being fully present in the action itself. At the end of the month, the master set up a target again. He invited the young man to shoot, but with one instruction. Do not aim for the center. Simply release the arrow as you have been practicing. The young man stood before the target, feeling nervous despite himself. He drew the bow, focused on his breath, and let the arrow go without trying to control its path. It hit the center perfectly. He was stunned. The master smiled. "Now do it again," he said. The young man shot again and again, each time letting go rather than aiming, and each time the arrow found the center. But now there was no tension in his body, no tightness in his mind. He was not trying to succeed, he was simply allowing the shot to complete itself. The master watched with quiet satisfaction. "You have learned what I wanted to teach you," he said. "Skill without effortlessness is only technique. But when you release the need to control, when you trust the process completely, then skill becomes art." The arrow finds the center not because you force it, but because you allow it. This is true not only in archery, but in all of life. The young man stayed with the master for several more years, deepening his practice. But he never forgot that first month of shooting without aim. It had taught him that the obstacle to mastery was not lack of skill, but excess of trying. And when he eventually left the mountains to teach others, he carried this lesson with him. His students would sometimes find him shooting arrows into the forest with his eyes closed, and when they asked why, he would smile and say, "I am practicing, not aiming." This story reveals a paradox that sits at the heart of many spiritual teachings. The more we try to force an outcome, the more elusive it becomes. The more we grip, the more slips through our fingers. The young archer had skill, but his skill was bound by ego, by the need to prove and control. The master's teaching was an invitation to release that bind, to discover a deeper kind of mastery. It is the mastery of trust, of surrender, of letting life move through us rather than making it obey us. This applies not just to archery or art, but to the very way we approach our own minds. So often we try to control our thoughts, to force ourselves into calm or positivity. We aim at peace the way the young archer aimed at the target, with tension and effort. But peace is not something we can hit. It is something we become when we stop aiming. Right now, as you lie here listening, you might notice the mind trying to do something with this information, trying to be more relaxed, more present, more something. See if you can release that trying. Let your breath breathe you. Let your body rest without managing it. The target will take care of itself when you stop aiming. The master's bow was old and unbalanced, not because he could not afford a better one. It was a teaching tool, a way of disrupting the student's reliance on perfect conditions. We often wait for circumstances to be just right before we allow ourselves peace. But peace does not depend on conditions being perfect. It emerges when we release the need for them to be. You are enough as you are right now, in this moment, with whatever is present. The restlessness, the discomfort, the wandering thoughts. These are not obstacles to peace. They are the very material of practice. Let them be as they are, just as the master let the young man's arrows fall wherever they would. Trust that something is unfolding even when you cannot see the pattern. The night continues, the breath continues, and you are held in the spaciousness of this moment. There is nowhere to arrive, nothing to achieve. You are already here, already home. Imagine now a garden behind a temple, enclosed by bamboo fences. The moon is nearly full, casting pale light over stone paths and small pools. You walk this garden slowly, feeling the cool air on your skin, hearing the rustle of leaves. There is no hurry, no destination. Each step is complete in itself. This is the garden of your own awareness, spacious and quiet. In one corner, there is a stone bench worn smooth by years of weather. You sit and notice the stillness settling deeper. Your shoulders drop, your jaw unclenches. The garden is teaching you what the stories have been pointing toward. That presence is not something to achieve, but something to recognize. It has been here, all along, waiting beneath the noise. The pond reflects the moon, a perfect mirror when the water is still. But even when wind disturbs the surface, the moon is still there. Your true nature is like that moon, constant and luminous. The disturbances of thought and emotion do not diminish it, they only temporarily obscure the reflection. The practice is not to eliminate the wind, but to recognize the moon regardless. To know that you are that awareness, that quiet witnessing presence that holds all experience. A leaf falls into the pond, sending ripples outward. You watch them expand and fade, and you understand impermanence in a new way. Not as a concept, but as a living truth. Everything that arises will pass. The pleasant and the painful, the wanted and the unwanted. All of it is temporary, visiting for a time and moving on. And you are the space in which it all appears and disappears. This space is not empty in a cold or lonely way. It is full with presence, vibrant with aliveness. It is the ground of being, the substrate of experience. When you rest here, there is nothing lacking, nothing needed. The breath moves, sensations arise, thoughts float by, and underneath it all, this vast stillness remains. The garden invites you to stay a while longer. There is a quality of timelessness here, as if past and future have collapsed into this eternal now. You are not remembering the day or anticipating tomorrow. You are simply here, breathing, being. This is what the monks discovered in their meditation halls. Not a special state achieved through technique, but the natural state revealed when striving ceases. The master archer found it in the release of the arrow. The blind calligrapher found it in the movement of the brush. The librarian found it in the ashes of what he thought he needed. And you are finding it now, not through doing, but through allowing. Let yourself be held by this garden, by this moment, the stone bench beneath you, the moon above, the breath within. Everything is in its right place, including you. There is nothing you need to fix or improve about this experience. It is already whole, already complete, and you are part of that wholeness, inseparable from the fabric of existence. The stories we have shared tonight are mirrors, each reflecting a different facet of the same truth. They come from different voices, different centuries, but they speak to something timeless. They say that peace is your birthright, not something earned through perfection. They say that letting go is more powerful than holding on. They say that life can be trusted, even when it cannot be controlled. These teachings are not asking you to believe anything or change who you are. They are simply inviting you to see what is already true, to recognize the peace that lives beneath the turbulence of daily life, to come home to the stillness that has always been your deepest nature. As the night deepens, let these ideas wash over you without needing to grasp them. They will settle where they need to settle, do their work quietly while you rest. The mind does not need to understand everything for transformation to occur. Sometimes the greatest shifts happen in the dark, beneath the threshold of conscious awareness. There is a teaching from the forest hermits, those wandering monks who lived outside the monasteries, that says the heart of practice is very simple. It can be summarized in 3 words: let it be. Not as resignation or passivity, but as profound acceptance of what is. When we fight against reality, we suffer. When we allow reality to be as it is while responding with wisdom and compassion, we find peace. This does not mean we become passive in the face of injustice or harm. It means we stop adding unnecessary suffering to what is already difficult. We stop arguing with the truth of the present moment. The young archer suffered not because the old bow was hard to use, but because he resisted that difficulty. He wanted it to be different, easier, more like what he was used to. When he finally allowed the challenge to be what it was, when he stopped fighting and started listening, everything changed. You can practice this letting be with whatever arises in your experience right now. If there is a sound outside, let it be. If there is a sensation of discomfort in your body, let it be. If there is a thought about tomorrow, let it be. Not by pushing things away, but by giving them space, by allowing them to exist without resistance. This is the cultivation of equanimity, the quality the village elder embodied. It is not about being emotionless or detached. It is about being present with all emotions, all experiences, without collapsing into identification with them. You feel sadness, but you are not sadness. You feel joy, but you are not joy. You are the awareness in which all feelings arise and pass. This awareness is unshakable because it does not depend on circumstances. It is the ground that remains even when everything else changes. And the more you rest in this ground, the more you recognize it as your true home. The meditation hall, the garden, the forest path, these are all metaphors for this inner ground. The place where you can always return, no matter what is happening in the outer world. It does not require special conditions or perfect silence. It is accessible right now, in the midst of whatever you are experiencing. The breath is the bridge between the outer and inner worlds. It is both physical and subtle, both voluntary and involuntary. When you bring attention to the breath, you anchor yourself in the present moment. You step out of the stream of thoughts and into direct experience. Try it now, just for a few breaths. Feel the cool air entering your nostrils, the gentle rise of your chest. Feel the pause at the top of the inhale, the soft release of the exhale. Notice how the body breathes itself when you stop trying to control it. This is what the teachings mean by effortless effort. You are participating in life without forcing it. You are showing up fully while holding lightly. The breath has been your companion since the moment you were born. It will stay with you until the moment you die. In between, it moves through you thousands of times a day, mostly unnoticed. But when you bring awareness to it, it becomes a teacher, a guide back to presence. The monks who sat in those burned halls knew this. When the fire came, they breathed. When the scrolls turned to ash, they breathed. And in that breathing, they found they were not destroyed. The essence of who they were remained, untouched by loss. This is the resilience that practice cultivates, not the hardness that resists pain, but the flexibility that bends without breaking. Not the armour that keeps feeling out, but the openness that allows feeling to flow through. You are learning this resilience now, even if it does not feel like learning. Every moment you spend in presence, every breath you take with awareness, is a small deposit in the account of your peace. Over time, these deposits accumulate, and one day you notice that the things that once disturbed you deeply now barely ripple the surface, not because you have become cold or indifferent, but because you have grown spacious. There is room inside you now for all of it, the joy and the sorrow, the beauty and the pain, and that spaciousness is the opposite of suffering. The forest hermits would sometimes sit under trees for days, not moving, not speaking. They were practicing this spaciousness, this capacity to simply be with what is. To modern ears, this might sound extreme or unnecessary, but they discovered something essential, that the mind, left to its own devices, creates endless problems and then exhausts itself trying to solve them. But when the mind is allowed to settle, when it is not fed by constant engagement, it reveals a different quality, a clarity and stillness that needs nothing added to it. You do not need to sit under a tree for days to taste this quality. It is available in any moment when you stop adding to what is, when you stop narrating, judging, planning, when you simply feel the breath, hear the sounds, sense the aliveness in your body. This is meditation without a cushion, practice without a formal container. It is life itself recognized as sacred. Everything you need to know is already inside you, just as the blind monk said. The teachings point you toward it, but they cannot give it to you. You must turn inward and discover it for yourself. And that discovery is not a dramatic event, not a lightning bolt of revelation. It is a quiet recognition, a gentle, yes, like remembering something you always knew but had forgotten. It happens in moments like this, when you are resting in the dark, listening to a voice that invites you into stillness. The words are not the teaching, they are the invitation. The teaching is what happens in the silence between the words. It is what you feel right now, this softening, this release, this growing sense that you are held by something larger than your small self. Trust that feeling, friend. It is not an illusion or wishful thinking. It is the truth of your being rising to meet you. As we continue through the night, let me tell you about a sculptor who lived near the coast. His work was well regarded, but he felt something was missing. He could create beautiful forms, but they seemed empty, lacking some essential quality he could not name. He worked harder, refining his technique, but the hollowness remained. One day, an old woman came to his studio. She was a potter, her hands gnarled with arthritis, but still strong. She looked at his sculptures and nodded appreciatively, then asked him a question. "Do you love the stone, or do you love what you make from it?" The sculptor was confused by the question. "Aren't they the same thing?" he asked. The woman smiled. "When I was young," she said, "I wanted to make perfect vessels. I would throw a pot, and if it had the slightest wobble, I would crush it and start again. I was trying to impose my will on the clay, to force it into my vision. And the pots I made were technically flawless, but somehow lifeless. Then one day my teacher showed me something. He took a lump of clay and just held it, feeling its weight, its moisture, its texture. He spoke to it softly, as if it were alive, and when he finally shaped it, he was not imposing his will, but listening to what the clay wanted to become. The pot that emerged was crooked and rough, but it was radiant with life. It had soul. The sculptor listened carefully. The old woman continued. "Now, when I work, I begin by sitting with the clay. I feel its temperature, its responsiveness. I notice what it needs, whether it is too wet or too dry, and I work with it, not against it. My hands have become so damaged that I can no longer make perfect forms, but the vessels I create now have more truth in them than anything I made in my youth." She placed one of her pots on the sculptor's table. It was asymmetrical, the glaze uneven, the rim slightly warped, but there was something undeniably beautiful about it, a sense of honesty and presence. The sculptor held it and felt tears come to his eyes, though he could not have said why. The woman touched his shoulder. "You are fighting the stone," she said. "You want it to express your ideas, your vision. But the stone has its own nature, its own grain and hardness. If you listen to it, if you work with it, it will reveal things you never imagined. Your job is not to conquer it, but to collaborate with it." After she left, the sculptor sat for a long time holding her pot. Then he went to his workshop and looked at the blocks of stone waiting there. For the first time, he tried what the woman had suggested. He placed his hands on the stone and simply felt it. He noticed the coolness, the slight roughness, the way light played across its surface, and he asked it silently what it wanted to become. The answer did not come in words, but in a kind of intuition, a sense of rightness about certain shapes and curves. When he finally began to work, something was different. His chisel moved with a new sensitivity, responding to the feedback of the stone. When he hit a hard spot, he did not force through it, but adjusted his approach. When a crack appeared, he did not see it as a flaw, but as information, a conversation. The sculpture that emerged was unlike anything he had made before. It was not perfect or symmetrical. There were rough patches where the stone had resisted, smooth areas where it had yielded, but it was alive in a way his previous work had not been. It breathed, it sang. Visitors to his studio began to notice the change. They could not always articulate what was different, but they felt it. His new work had a quality of presence, as if the stone had agreed to reveal itself rather than being forced into submission. The sculptor's reputation grew, but he cared less about that than he once had. What mattered now was the relationship, the dialogue between himself and the material. Each sculpture became a kind of meditation, an opportunity to listen deeply and respond with care. Years later, a young artist came to study with him. She asked what his secret was, how he created such powerful work. The sculptor thought about the old potter and smiled. "I stopped trying to make the stone into what I wanted," he said. "I started listening to what it wanted to become. And in that listening, I discovered something about myself too. That I am not separate from the stone or from anything else. We are all part of the same fabric, expressing different forms. When I touch the stone with love and attention, it is life touching itself, knowing itself." The young artist did not fully understand, but she felt the truth in his words. She stayed with him for many years, learning not just technique, but presence. And when she eventually went out on her own, she carried that teaching with her. The teaching that creation is not domination, but collaboration, not control, but love. This story offers us a different way of being in relationship with life. Most of us approach our days the way the young sculptor approached the stone, trying to force reality into the shape we think it should take. We have ideas about how things should go, who we should be, what should happen, and when life does not comply, we feel frustrated, defeated, angry. We think something is wrong, either with the world or with ourselves. But what if nothing is wrong? What if life, like the stone, has its own grain and nature? And our task is not to conquer it, but to collaborate with it, to listen and respond with sensitivity. This is the essence of wisdom, this dance between intention and acceptance. We do not become passive, we do not stop creating or acting, but we hold our plans lightly, remaining open to what emerges. We work with what is, rather than insisting on what we wish were. The sculptor's transformation came when he stopped seeing the stone as a problem to solve, when he approached it with curiosity and respect instead of agenda and force. His work improved not because his technique changed, but because his relationship to the process changed. He fell in love with the stone, and that love flowed into everything he created. You can practice this in your own life, in small ways and large. When you encounter difficulty, pause before reacting. Feel into the situation the way the sculptor felt into the stone. Notice its texture, its resistance, its particular qualities. Ask yourself, what is this moment asking of me? Not what do I want from it, but what does it need? This is the shift from ego to wisdom, from grasping to serving. And in that shift something relaxes. The struggle diminishes because you are no longer fighting. You are dancing, responding, co-creating with the flow of life. Right now, in this moment, you are the stone and the sculptor both. You are the material and the consciousness shaping it. Notice how your breath moves through you without your direction. Notice how your heart beats, how your body heals small wounds, how your mind processes information. All of this happens through you, not by you. You are life expressing itself, taking this particular form for a brief time. When you recognize this, the burden of being a separate self trying to control everything begins to lift. You are part of something vast, something that has its own wisdom and direction. And your peace comes not from managing that vastness, but from trusting it. The potter's crooked vessel was beautiful because it told the truth. It did not pretend to be more than it was. It accepted its own nature and in that acceptance became radiant. You too can stop pretending to be more than you are. You can accept your own crooked edges, your own rough patches. They are not flaws but character, evidence of your journey, marks of your humanity. And when you accept them, they become sources of strength rather than shame. The moon has moved across the sky and the night grows deeper. You have been listening for a while now, and perhaps your awareness is softer, more diffuse. This is good. This is the beginning of sleep's approach. But before we let you drift completely, there is one more story to share. A story about a painter who could not paint. She had studied for years, learned all the techniques, understood colour and composition. But when she sat before the canvas, nothing came. Her mind would fill with ideas, beautiful visions of what she wanted to create. But the moment she picked up the brush, the vision would shatter. What appeared on the canvas was flat, lifeless, a pale shadow of what she had imagined. She grew desperate, working harder, staying up late into the night, but the more effort she applied, the worse the results became. Her paintings looked tortured, full of strain and struggle. Finally, exhausted and heartbroken, she gave up. She put her brushes away and did not paint for a year. During that year, she took long walks in the countryside. She watched light move across fields, noticed how shadows pooled under trees. She sat by rivers and observed the way water moved around stones. She paid attention to birds, clouds, the changing colours of sunset. She was not trying to paint these things, she was simply seeing them. And slowly, without her noticing, something inside her shifted. One morning, she woke early and found herself pulling out her brushes. She had no plan, no vision of what to create. She just squeezed paint onto the palette and began. Her hand moved almost on its own, responding to impulses she did not think through. Colours appeared that she had not consciously chosen. Shapes emerged that she had not designed, and for the first time in years, she felt no resistance, no gap between vision and execution. When she finally stepped back, she gasped. The painting was unlike anything she had tried to create before. It was raw, spontaneous, alive. It captured something essential about the light and movement she had been observing, but not in a literal way. It was an impression, a feeling, a truth. She stood looking at it for a long time, tears streaming down her face. She realised what had changed. She had stopped trying to paint what she thought she should paint. She had stopped comparing her work to others, stopped judging each brushstroke as it appeared. She had simply allowed herself to paint, to let the process unfold without interference. The vision had not come first this time. The painting had created itself, and only afterward did she understand what it was. From that day forward, her work transformed. She painted every morning, not from ambition or duty, but from a kind of necessity. It was how she breathed, how she touched the world, and the paintings that emerged were powerful, moving, authentic. Critics praised her for finding her voice, but she knew it was not about finding anything. It was about losing, letting go of the false ideas that had blocked her. One day, a student asked her how to become a better painter. The woman thought carefully before answering. "Stop trying to be good," she finally said. "Stop asking if your work is good enough, if it matches your vision, if others will like it. These questions are poison to the creative process. Instead, ask yourself, am I present? Am I feeling into the paint, the canvas, the moment? Am I allowing something to come through me, rather than forcing something out of me. The student looked uncertain, so the painter tried again. When I was blocked, she said, I thought creativity was about having great ideas and executing them skillfully. But I discovered that creativity is about getting out of the way. It is about being so present with the materials, so responsive to what is happening, that something unexpected can emerge. The great ideas do not come from thinking, they come from doing, from the act of creation itself. You do not find your voice by searching for it, you find it by speaking, or in our case, by painting. The student nodded slowly, beginning to understand. The painter smiled and handed her a brush. Don't think, she said, just paint. And for the next hour they worked side by side, in silence. The student's painting was messy, uncertain, full of mistakes, but there was a spark in it, a moment or two of genuine expression. The painter saw it and said nothing, just nodded. That was the beginning, the first crack in the wall of self-consciousness, and in time, if the student kept practicing presence over perfection, that crack would widen into an opening. This story speaks to something beyond painting, beyond art. It speaks to the way we approach all of life. So many of us are blocked the way that painter was blocked. We have visions of who we should be, what we should accomplish, how we should feel, and we exhaust ourselves trying to force reality into matching those visions. But the visions themselves are often the obstacle. They are ideas, constructs, images borrowed from outside ourselves. They are what we think we should want, rather than what we actually need. The painter's year of not painting was not a failure. It was an essential part of her process. She needed to stop doing in order to start being. She needed to empty herself of expectation, so there was room for something genuine to emerge. You have been doing this tonight without knowing it. By lying here, listening, resting, you have been practicing the art of not doing. You have been allowing yourself to be without agenda, without trying to get somewhere or become something. And in this allowing, something is happening beneath the surface. Old tensions are releasing, tight places are softening. The mind is beginning to trust that it is safe to let go. This is the fertile darkness from which all creativity, all healing, all transformation emerges. You do not need to make it happen. You only need to provide the conditions of rest, presence, and acceptance. The painter learned to trust the process, to believe that if she showed up with presence, something worthwhile would emerge. She did not need to know what it would be in advance. She did not need to control the outcome. Her job was simply to be there, brush in hand, heart open. This is a radical way of living, and it goes against much of what we are taught. We are told to set goals, make plans, visualize success, and there is value in intention and direction. But there is also danger in becoming so attached to the outcome that we strangle the process. The middle way is to hold intention lightly, to have direction without rigidity, to work towards something while remaining open to what wants to happen. This is the balance between discipline and surrender, between effort and grace, and it is learned not through thinking but through practice, through trial and error, through the accumulation of small moments of presence. Let yourself rest now in the spaciousness of not knowing. You do not need to figure anything out tonight. You do not need to understand or remember these stories. They have entered you, and they will work in their own way, in their own time. Your only task is to allow this rest, to sink into it completely. The painter's empty canvas is your own awareness right now, vast and receptive. And what will emerge from this rest, from this deep allowing, you cannot predict. But it will be genuine, it will be yours. Trust that. Trust the process of letting go, of releasing control, of surrendering to sleep. The night has grown very quiet now. The voice that has been your companion is beginning to fade, like a candle burning low. This is intentional, a gentle transition from words to silence. You are ready now to release even this guidance, to rest in your own stillness. But before we part, let me offer a few final reflections. Everything you have heard tonight points to one simple truth. Peace is your nature, not your achievement. It does not need to be earned or created. It only needs to be recognized and allowed. All the striving, all the searching, all the trying to be better or different, these are movements away from peace, not toward it. The monk who lost his scrolls discovered this. The archer who stopped aiming discovered this. The sculptor who listened to the stone discovered this. And you are discovering it now in your own way, through your own experience. The teachings are simple, almost too simple for the complicated mind to accept. But the heart knows their truth. Let things be as they are. Trust the process. Release the need to control. Rest in awareness. These are not instructions to follow, but invitations to remember what you already know. Deep in your body, in the cells and bones, in the breath and blood, this wisdom lives. It does not need to be learned, because it is already you. The stories we have shared are like stones dropped into a pond. The ripples move outward, touching places you cannot see. And long after the stone has settled to the bottom, the water continues to feel its presence. In the same way, these teachings will continue to work in you long after this night has ended. You may wake tomorrow with no conscious memory of what was said, but something will have changed, subtly but surely. A tightness will have eased, a burden will have lightened, a door will have opened. This is the way of wisdom. It works in the depths, beneath the noise of the everyday mind. It plants seeds that take time to germinate, and one day, months or years from now, you will act with a patience or kindness that surprises you. You will respond to difficulty with unexpected calm. You will let go of something you once held desperately, and you will not connect it to this night, to these words, to this hour of listening, but it will be connected, part of a long, slow process of transformation. The Buddhist masters understood this. They did not expect instant enlightenment or dramatic shifts. They taught through stories and presence, trusting that the teachings would find their mark in due time. They knew that wisdom cannot be forced, only invited, and the invitation is extended through beauty, through rest, through the simple act of sitting together in silence. You have accepted that invitation tonight. You have given yourself this gift of time, this sanctuary of calm. And that choice itself is a form of practice, a declaration that you matter, that your peace matters. In a world that constantly demands more, you have chosen rest. In a culture that values productivity above all, you have chosen presence. This is a revolutionary act, quiet but profound, and the effects will ripple outward, touching not only your own life, but the lives of those around you. Peace is contagious. When you carry stillness within you, others feel it, even if they cannot name it. You become a kind of refuge, a reminder that it is possible to live differently. Not perfectly, not without struggle, but with the quality of groundedness that weathers all storms. The moon is setting now, and the darkest part of the night has arrived. This is the hour when the world is most still, when even the insects grow quiet. It is the hour of deep sleep, of dreams, of the body's restoration. Let yourself sink into this hour, into its velvet darkness. There is nothing left to understand, nothing left to grasp. You have heard enough, learned enough, tried enough. Now it is time to simply be, to rest in the vast embrace of the night. Your body knows what to do. It knows how to release, how to heal, how to renew. It does not need your help or your supervision. It only needs your permission, your willingness to let go completely. And so I give you this final invitation. Release your hold on wakefulness. Let the thoughts drift away like clouds. Let the stories fade into the background. Let even this voice become distant, a soft murmur that eventually dissolves into silence. You are safe here, held by the bed beneath you, by the darkness around you, by the breath that continues without your effort. All is well, all is as it should be, and you, dear friend, are exactly where you need to be. The blind monk found peace when he stopped seeing and started feeling. The elder found wisdom when he stopped judging and started accepting. The archer found mastery when he stopped aiming and started releasing. And you will find your own peace, your own wisdom, your own mastery, not by seeking but by surrendering, not by doing but by allowing, not by holding on but by letting go. This is the great secret that is not a secret at all. It is obvious, simple, available to everyone in every moment. But the mind overlooks it, searching for something more complicated, more impressive. And so we tell stories, we point to the moon, we offer these gentle reminders, until finally, in a moment of grace, the seeking stops, the striving ceases, and what remains is the peace that was always here, the stillness that never left. You are that peace, you are that stillness, not as an idea but as a living reality. And tonight, as you drift into sleep, you are resting in your own true nature. Nothing is separate, nothing is missing. The night continues, the breath continues, and all is well. The candle burns low, the flame wavering, casting shadows that dance and fade. Soon it will go out completely, and only darkness will remain. But the darkness is not empty, it is full of presence, full of rest. It is the space in which all things arise and to which all things return. You are that space, vast and accommodating. You have contained all the stories of this night, all the teachings, all the moments, and now you are letting them go, releasing them back into the void from which they came. Nothing needs to be kept, nothing needs to be remembered. The truth that matters has already been absorbed, taken in through the skin, through the breath, through the quiet attention you have given. It lives in you now, part of your being, indistinguishable from who you are. And as you sleep, it will continue its work, reorganizing, integrating, healing. When you wake, you will be slightly different, slightly more yourself. The false layers will have thinned, the true self will have grown stronger. This is the alchemy of rest, the magic of surrender. It requires no effort, no technique, no belief. It simply happens when you allow it, when you trust the process of life itself. So sleep now, deeply and peacefully. Let the last threads of tension unravel. Let the mind settle into its natural state of openness. Let the body be held by the earth, by gravity, by the same force that holds the stars in their courses. You are not alone. You have never been alone. You are part of the vast web of existence, connected to all things. And in this moment of rest, that connection becomes palpable, real. You are breathing the same air that has been breathed for millions of years. You are made of the same atoms that once formed stars. You are a temporary expression of something eternal, something that cannot be diminished or destroyed. And in knowing this, even wordlessly, even in sleep, you find the peace that passes all understanding. The voice that has guided you is fading now, becoming softer, more distant. Soon it will be gone, and you will be alone with the silence. But the silence is not empty, it is alive with presence. It is the sound of your own awareness, humming quietly beneath all other sounds. Listen to it now, that inner hum, that subtle vibration. It has no source, no direction. It simply is, the background against which all experience arises. This is the sound of existence itself, the primordial Om that all traditions speak of. Not as a word, but as a feeling, a resonance. You can rest in this sound. Let it fill you. Let it dissolve the boundaries between inner and outer. There is no you and world. There is only this, only awareness experiencing itself. The masters spent lifetimes trying to convey this truth, and yet it cannot be conveyed, only recognized. You recognize it now, in this moment of deep rest. Not with the mind, but with something deeper, something that has no name. It is the part of you that was never born and will never die. The part that watches the breath rise and fall without being the breath. The part that feels the body without being the body. The part that thinks thoughts without being thoughts. This is your true nature, and it is always here, always accessible. You do not find it by searching, you find it by stopping. By resting so deeply that the illusion of separation falls away, and what remains is obvious. Pure being, pure presence, pure peace. The night holds you now in its vast embrace. The world outside continues, but it is far away, irrelevant. Here in this dark space, there is only rest, only release. The struggles of the day have dissolved. The worries about tomorrow have not yet formed. There is only now this eternal present, this single moment that contains all moments. And in this moment, you are free. Free from the past, free from the future, free from the story of who you think you are. You are simply here, simply alive, simply breathing, and that is enough. That has always been enough. The seeking ends not when you find what you are looking for, but when you realize you are what you are looking for. The peace you seek is not somewhere else, it is here. The love you long for is not outside, it is you. The home you want to return to is not a place, it is a recognition. You are already home. You have always been home. And tonight, as you sleep, that truth will settle deeper into your bones. The last words now, spoken so softly, they are almost not words at all. Just breath, just vibration. Just the fading echo of something that was trying to say what cannot be said. The stars above, though you cannot see them, continue their ancient dance. The earth below, though you do not feel it, spins through space. And you, suspended between earth and stars, between waking and sleeping, between self and no self, you simply rest. The stories are over, the teachings have been given. The night has done its work, and now there is only this, only silence, only sleep. Let go, let go, let go. And as the candle burns low, the world continues, quietly, without you needing to do a thing. The breath moves on its own, the heart beats in its own rhythm, and somewhere inside, so deep it has no location, peace remains, untouched, undisturbed, eternal. Rest there now, rest completely, and know that all is well. All has always been well. All will always be well. The night wraps around you like a blanket, soft and warm. And in that darkness, you are held. You are safe. You are home. Sleep now, dear friend. Sleep deeply and peacefully. And when you wake, may you carry with you just a whisper of what was touched tonight. A reminder that peace lives in you, waiting patiently for your return. Until then, rest. Rest in the knowing that you are enough, that this moment is enough, that life is enough. Rest in the vast stillness that has no beginning and no end. Rest in yourself, in your own true nature, and let the night carry you wherever you need to go. The words end here, dissolving into silence, but the silence itself is full, complete, lacking nothing. It is the source from which all words emerge and to which all words return. It is what remains when everything else falls away, and it is you. It has always been you. Welcome home. There is another tale I want to share with you as the night deepens further still. It comes from a time when mountains were the dwelling places of those who sought clarity. A young woman climbed one such mountain, searching for a teacher who lived alone in a small hut. She had questions that burned in her mind, questions about purpose and meaning, about why suffering exists. She had lost someone she loved deeply, and the loss had broken something in her. She hoped this teacher could mend what felt irreparably damaged inside her. The climb took 3 days, and by the time she reached the hut, she was exhausted. The teacher was an old woman with eyes like clear water, neither kind nor unkind, simply present. The young woman poured out her questions, her grief, her confusion. She spoke for a long time while the teacher listened in silence, occasionally stirring a pot of soup over a small fire. When the young woman finally fell quiet, throat raw from speaking, the teacher said nothing. She simply ladled soup into 2 bowls and handed one to her visitor. They ate in silence as the afternoon light shifted through the trees. The young woman felt frustrated by the lack of response, but was too tired to press further. After the meal, the teacher rose and walked outside. The young woman followed, hoping now she would receive answers, but the teacher only stood at the edge of a small cliff, looking out over the valley below. Mist was rising from the forest, and the air smelled of rain approaching. The teacher pointed to a large boulder at the edge of the cliff. She asked the young woman if she could see it. "Of course," the young woman replied, confused. The teacher nodded and asked her to push it off the cliff. The young woman stared at her, bewildered. "Why would I do that?" she asked. The teacher smiled slightly. "Why indeed? But humour me." The young woman approached the boulder and pushed against it. It was enormous, far too heavy for one person to move. She pushed harder, putting her full weight into it, but it did not budge even slightly. After several minutes of exhausting effort, she stepped back, breathing hard. "It is impossible," she said. The teacher nodded again. "And yet you have been trying to do exactly this for months." The young woman frowned, not understanding. The teacher continued, her voice soft but clear. "You cannot move that boulder, and you cannot undo what has happened to you. Your loved one is gone, and no amount of pushing against that reality will change it. But you have been pushing anyway, trying to make the past different, trying to force your grief into something manageable, and you are exhausting yourself with this impossible task." The young woman felt tears spring to her eyes. The teacher's words cut through all her intellectual understanding, landing somewhere deeper. "But what else can I do?" she whispered. "If I accept it, if I stop pushing, then it means they are really gone." The teacher placed a hand on her shoulder. "They are really gone whether you accept it or not. Your pushing does not keep them alive. It only keeps you in agony. Acceptance does not mean you stop loving them or remembering them. It means you stop fighting with reality. You allow what is to simply be, and in that allowing, something can shift. The grief does not disappear, but it transforms. It becomes something you can carry rather than something that carries you." They walked back to the hut as the first drops of rain began to fall. The teacher made tea, and they sat listening to the rain on the roof. The young woman felt something loosening in her chest, a tension she had been holding for so long she had forgotten it was there. She did not feel relief exactly, but she felt something like space, like the beginning of breath after being underwater too long. She stayed with the teacher for 2 weeks, not talking much, simply being present. She helped with small tasks, gathering wood, preparing food, mending clothes, and in the simplicity of these actions, something in her began to heal. Not dramatically, not completely, but genuinely. On the morning she was ready to leave, the teacher walked with her to the edge of the clearing. She handed her a small stone, smooth and cool. The young woman looked at it questioningly. The teacher said, "This stone is to remind you, whenever you find yourself pushing against immovable reality, feel this stone in your pocket. Remember that acceptance is not defeat, it is wisdom. It is the end of unnecessary suffering." The young woman descended the mountain with the stone in her pocket, and though her grief remained, its quality had changed. It was no longer a wall she was beating her head against, but a river she was learning to navigate. Some days the current was strong, other days it was gentle, but she was no longer fighting it, and in that shift she found she could breathe again. This story speaks to something we all face, the impulse to fight against what we cannot change. We push against illness, against aging, against loss, against the fundamental facts of existence, and we exhaust ourselves with this pushing, believing that acceptance means giving up or not caring. But acceptance is not passive resignation. It is the active choice to align with reality rather than war with it. When we stop pushing against immovable boulders, we free up energy for what can actually be changed or created. The young woman's grief was real and valid. The teacher did not tell her to stop feeling it or to pretend everything was fine. She simply pointed out that the fighting made the pain worse. The resistance to reality is often more painful than reality itself. Think about your own life, about the boulders you might be pushing against. Perhaps it is something from the past that you wish had gone differently. Perhaps it is a characteristic of yourself you cannot seem to change no matter how hard you try. Perhaps it is someone else's behaviour, their choices, their way of being. These are all immovable in their own ways, and the pushing exhausts you. What would it mean to stop pushing? Not to stop caring, not to stop acting where action is possible, but to stop the internal war. To feel the stone in your pocket, and remember that some things simply are what they are. This is the practice of acceptance, and it is one of the deepest forms of wisdom. It does not come easily or all at once. It is cultivated through repeated choice, through noticing when we are pushing and gently releasing our grip. Right now, in this moment, you can practice this. Notice if there is any part of your experience you are resisting. Perhaps it is the inability to fall asleep immediately. Perhaps it is a physical sensation or an emotional state. Instead of fighting it, what if you could allow it to be exactly as it is? Not forever, not as a permanent condition, but just for this moment. Let it be without needing to change it. And in that allowing, notice what happens. Does the resistance relax slightly? Does the breath deepen? Does something soften inside you? These are small shifts, subtle movements, but they are profound. They are the beginning of peace, the first steps toward a different relationship with life. The rain that fell on the mountain was neither good nor bad. It was simply rain. The teacher did not curse it or praise it. She just let it fall. Let it do what rain does. And we can bring this same quality to our inner weather, the storms of emotion, the clouds of thought. Let them come, let them pass, without making them into problems that need solving. You are the vast sky, and everything else is weather, temporary, changing, passing through. The young woman carried that stone for the rest of her life. Sometimes months would pass without her thinking of it. Other times she would hold it multiple times a day, feeling its smooth surface, remembering. And over the years, her relationship with grief matured. She learned to let it visit when it needed to visit. She learned to honour her loss without being defined by it. She learned that healing is not about returning to who you were before, but discovering who you can become now. This is the journey we are all on, learning to be with what is, learning to let life flow through us without so much resistance. And the beautiful thing is that we do not have to do it perfectly. We do not have to master acceptance once and for all. We simply practice again and again each time we notice we are pushing, each time we remember to release our grip. The night is patient with us, the breath is patient with us, and we can learn to be patient with ourselves, to meet our own struggles with the same gentleness the teacher showed the young woman. Not fixing, not forcing, just witnessing with compassion. Let yourself feel that compassion now, directed toward yourself. You have been trying so hard for so long, and you are tired. It is okay to be tired. It is okay to stop trying for a while. Just rest here, in this moment, held by the darkness, breathing without effort. There is a teaching from the old monasteries about the nature of mind. They would say that thoughts are like visitors arriving at the door of awareness. Most people, when a visitor knocks, feel they must let them in, entertain them, give them food and attention. And some visitors are pleasant, bringing news and gifts, but others are difficult, bringing complaints and demands. And we exhaust ourselves trying to manage all these visitors, trying to make the difficult ones leave or the pleasant ones stay. But the teaching says there is another way. You can acknowledge the visitor at the door without inviting them in. You can see the thought without engaging with it, without following where it wants to lead you. You can let it knock, notice it, and then let it pass on without entry. This is not suppression or denial. It is simply discernment, recognizing that not every thought deserves your attention. Most thoughts are repetitive, habitual, not particularly useful or true. They are visitors who have come many times before, always with the same stories, and you have learned their stories by heart. You do not need to hear them again. The practice is to sit by the door of awareness and watch visitors come and go. Some will knock loudly, insistently. but you remain unmoved, simply present. You do not fight with them or try to make them leave. You just do not give them your energy, your belief, your attention. And eventually, when they see you are not going to engage, they move on. This creates space, stillness, the possibility of new insight. When you are not constantly entertaining the same old visitors, something fresh can emerge. You might discover thoughts you never noticed before, quiet wisdom that could not be heard over the noise. Or you might simply rest in the space between thoughts, the gap where peace lives. Try this now as you lie here. Notice thoughts as they arise. Do not judge them or push them away. Simply see them as visitors knocking at the door. Acknowledge them with a kind of internal nod, and then return your attention to the breath. The thought will likely knock again, more insistently. That is okay. Just keep returning to the breath, to the sensation of breathing, to the body resting. This is the practice. Simple, but not easy. The mind has been conditioned to engage with every thought that arises. It believes that thinking is its job, its purpose, and in some contexts, thinking is valuable and necessary, but not now, not in this moment of rest. Now your only job is to be present, to not think about presence, but to simply be it. The monastery teachers would spend years training students in this practice, not because it is complicated, but because it goes against every habit the mind has developed. The mind wants to be busy, to feel important, to solve problems, but there are no problems to solve right now. There is only this, only breath, only being, and the more you practice resting in this simplicity, the more it becomes accessible to you. Not just at night or in meditation, but in the midst of daily life. You begin to notice the space between thoughts even while thinking. You begin to recognize that you are not your thoughts, but the awareness in which thoughts appear. This is liberation, this recognition. Because if you are not your thoughts, then the difficult thoughts do not define you. The anxious thoughts, the critical thoughts, the fearful thoughts, they are just visitors. They do not have power over you unless you give it to them, and you learn slowly to stop giving your power away. The breath continues, in and out, a rhythm that predates all thought. It was here before language, before concepts, before the self came into being, and it will continue after all of that dissolves. It is the most basic affirmation of existence, the body saying yes to life over and over. Follow it now, down into the belly, into the depths of the body. Feel how the abdomen rises and falls, how the ribs expand and contract. This is your anchor, your home base. Whenever you feel lost in thought or emotion, you can return here. The breath is always waiting, always available. It asks nothing of you, demands nothing. It simply is, constant and faithful. Some traditions call the breath the bridge between body and spirit, the meeting place of form and formlessness. It is physical, measurable, observable, but it is also mysterious, animated by something beyond the material. We breathe without knowing how, without understanding the complex processes that make it possible. We simply breathe and life continues. This is trust in its purest form. The body trusts the breath trusts the body, and you can learn to trust both, to relax into the autonomic wisdom that keeps you alive. You do not have to control or manage this process. It happens on its own, perfectly, without your intervention, and everything else in life is the same. Beneath all the struggling and striving, life is living itself. Your job is not to make it happen, but to allow it, to get out of the way. There is a story about a farmer who lived at the base of a mountain, an old tale told to illustrate patience. The farmer had a field that was rocky and difficult to till. Each year he would clear stones from the soil, piling them at the edge of his property. But each spring, new stones would appear, pushed up by frost and rain. It seemed endless, futile. His neighbours would joke that he was farming stones, not crops. But the farmer did not complain or give up. He simply cleared what stones appeared each year, planted his seeds, and tended his crops. The yield was never abundant, but it was enough. He did this for decades, and slowly the field improved. The stones became smaller and less frequent. The soil deepened and enriched. And in his old age, his field was one of the most productive in the region. His children inherited good land, fertile and generous. One of his sons asked him how he had maintained patience through all those years of difficulty. The farmer thought about this and said, "I did not think about all the years or all the stones. I only thought about today's work. Clear today's stones, plant today's seeds, pull today's weeds. If I had looked at the whole task, I would have been overwhelmed. But one day at a time, it was manageable, and the days accumulated into years, and the years into a life." This is the wisdom of presence applied to effort. We become discouraged when we focus on how far we have to go, or how long something will take. But if we can bring our attention to just this moment, just this breath, just this single action, it becomes possible. The farmer's field is like the mind, full of stones that need clearing, but we do not have to clear them all at once. We just tend to what is in front of us right now. A single thought, a single breath, a single moment of awareness. And over time, imperceptibly, the field of our consciousness clears and deepens. The stones of old patterns, old wounds, old conditioning, they gradually diminish. Not because we fight them, but because we patiently, consistently choose differently. This is the long practice, the work of a lifetime. But it is also the simple practice, the work of a single breath. Both are true at once. Your life is a vast field that you are slowly, patiently tending. But right now, there is only this small corner, this present moment. Tend it well, be here fully, and trust that the accumulation of these moments will reveal something beautiful. The farmer did not see the transformation happening day by day. It was too gradual, too subtle. But when he looked back over years, he could see how far he had come. The same will be true for you. The work you are doing right now, lying here, breathing, listening, allowing, this work is changing you. Not dramatically, not visibly, but truly. The grooves in your brain are subtly shifting. The patterns of tension are loosening. The habit of presence is strengthening. You may not feel it or notice it, but it is happening. And months from now, you will respond to something difficult with unexpected calm. You will let go of something that once consumed you. You will breathe through a moment that would have previously triggered anxiety, and you will wonder where that capacity came from. It came from here, from nights like this, from the patient tending of your inner field. So do not underestimate the power of this rest, this listening, this gentle practice. It is not wasted time or passive indulgence. It is cultivation, nourishment, essential work. The farmer knew that the soil needed rest as much as it needed tending. He would let fields lie fallow, giving them time to regenerate. Your mind and body need this same wisdom. They need rest, space, time to integrate and renew. Modern life does not often honour this need, but that does not make it less essential. You are honouring it now, and that is worth acknowledging. You have chosen rest over more doing, presence over distraction, and in that choice, you are aligning with something ancient and wise. The farmers of old understood that you cannot harvest without planting, cannot plant without preparing soil. Everything has its season, its right time, and this is your season of rest, your time of lying fallow. Trust it. Do not rush toward the next thing, or worry that you are not being productive. This is the most productive thing you could be doing right now, because from this rest, from this deep allowing, new growth will emerge when the time is right. The night is a teacher, and its lessons are taught through darkness and quiet. In the absence of visual stimulation, other senses sharpen. You become more aware of sound, of sensation, of the subtle movements of breath and heart. You become more attuned to the inner landscape, the territory of feeling and intuition. This is what the darkness offers, an invitation to turn inward, to explore the vastness inside rather than outside. The external world with all its colour and noise and demand fades into the background, and what remains is you, just you, breathing in the dark. There is something primordial about this, something that connects you to every human who has ever lain awake in the night. Your ancestors knew this darkness intimately. Before electric lights and screens, they lived in rhythm with the sun. When night came, they stopped working and gathered around fires. They told stories, sang songs, and eventually lay down to sleep under the stars. Their nervous systems were calibrated to this rhythm, this deep rest that darkness brings. Your own nervous system remembers this pattern, encoded in your biology. When you allow yourself to rest in darkness, to surrender to its embrace, you are aligning with millions of years of evolutionary wisdom. The body knows how to sleep, how to heal, how to restore itself. It does not need instructions or management, it needs permission. Permission to let go, to shut down the vigilance that daylight requires. So, give yourself that permission now. Release any sense that you should be alert or aware. Let the vigilance dissolve. Let the guard drop. You are safe here in the dark. There is nothing you need to monitor or control. The night is holding you, the earth beneath you, the vast sky above, and in this holding, you can completely relax. The animals know this. Watch a cat sleep, and you will see total surrender, complete trust. They do not sleep halfway, they give themselves fully to rest, and we can learn from them, can practice this same wholehearted letting go, not holding back a part of ourselves in case something might happen, just releasing fully into the embrace of sleep. This is vulnerability, but it is also strength. It takes courage to be this open, this undefended, and in that openness, true rest becomes possible. Let me share one more story as we move toward the deepest part of the night. This one comes from a seaside village where fishing was the way of life. There was an old fisherman known for his unusual practice. Every morning before going out to sea, he would sit on the beach in silence for an hour. The other fishermen thought this was a waste of valuable fishing time. They would already be checking their nets and preparing their boats while he sat motionless, staring at the water. But the old fisherman's catches were consistently good, and over the years, people began to wonder if his strange ritual had something to do with his success. One day, a young fisherman asked him about it. "Why do you sit there every morning doing nothing when you could be fishing?" The old man smiled and invited the young fisherman to join him the next morning. They sat together on the sand as the sun rose, waves lapping gently at the shore. The young man felt restless, impatient. His mind raced with thoughts of tasks he needed to do, fish he needed to catch. After what felt like an eternity, the old fisherman finally spoke. "What do you notice?" he asked. The young man looked around, confused. "I noticed the ocean, the waves, the birds." The old man nodded. "Yes? And what else?" The young man tried harder, listing more details. The colour of the water, the clouds, the wind. The old man smiled gently. "You are still looking with your eyes. I am asking you to notice with your whole being." The young man did not understand, but tried to do what was asked. He closed his eyes and felt the sun on his face, the sand beneath him. He heard the cry of gulls and the rhythmic sound of waves, and slowly something began to shift. He felt his breathing synchronize with the rhythm of the waves. He felt the vastness of the ocean not as something external, but as something he was part of. A sense of connection and belonging washed over him, and tears came to his eyes without knowing why. When he opened his eyes, the old fisherman was watching him with kindness. "Now you are beginning to understand," he said. "Every morning I come here to remember who I am. Not a fisherman trying to take from the sea, but part of the sea itself. When I remember this, when I feel it deeply, everything changes. I do not fish against the ocean, I fish with it. I listen to where it wants me to go, what it wants to offer, and because of this, I am rarely disappointed." The young fisherman thought about this as they walked to the boats. It seemed mystical, impractical, but he tried it the next morning, sitting alone on the beach. And though he felt self-conscious and distracted, there were moments when he touched something, a brief sense of unity, of being held by something larger. He continued the practice, and over weeks and months his experience deepened. He began to notice patterns in the water he had not seen before, subtle signs of where fish might be. His catches improved, but more than that, his relationship with his work transformed. He no longer approached the sea with anxiety and grasping. He approached it with curiosity and respect, as he would a wise teacher. Years later, he became known for his skill and his generosity. He taught others not just techniques of fishing, but the importance of presence and connection. And he always credited the old fisherman with showing him that the quality of your work depends on the quality of your being. If you are stressed and grasping, your work will reflect that. If you are present and aligned, your work will reflect that too. This story invites us to consider our own relationship with life, with our daily activities. Do we approach them as battles to win or relationships to nurture? Do we try to take from life, or do we sense what life wants to give? The old fisherman's practice was not wasted time, it was the foundation of his success. The hour he spent sitting was the most important hour of his day. It aligned him, centered him, connected him to something essential, and from that alignment, everything else flowed more easily. You can bring this quality into your own life, not by sitting on a beach for an hour, though that would be lovely, but by bringing presence to whatever you do, by taking moments throughout the day to remember who you are, to feel your connection to the larger whole. It does not have to take long, just a few breaths, a moment of noticing. But that moment, repeated over and over, changes everything. It brings you out of the trance of separation and back into the truth of interconnection. Right now, you are practicing this. You are not just lying here listening to words. You are remembering something, reconnecting to something. The stories are like the waves, washing over you, reminding you of what you already know deep down. You are not separate from this life. You are this life expressing itself. You are not a problem that needs solving, but a presence that needs recognizing. And when you rest in that recognition, when you let it soak into your bones, peace becomes natural. Not something you have to work for, but something you cannot help but feel. The young fisherman's tears were a recognition of this truth. They came not from sadness, but from relief, from the release of a burden he did not know he was carrying. The burden of thinking he was alone, separate, having to do everything by himself. And when that fell away, even briefly, the tears came. You might feel something similar. Tonight, a softening, a welling up of emotion. Not because anything is wrong, but because something is right. Because you are touching the truth of your being, and it is so much gentler than you thought. Let any emotion that arises be welcome. It is part of the release, part of the healing. The body sometimes cries when it finally feels safe enough to do so, and you are safe here, held by the darkness, by the silence, by the breath. Nothing can harm you in this moment. You can let down your armor and just be the tender, vulnerable, beautiful being that you are underneath all the protection. The ocean does not stop the waves. It allows them to rise and fall naturally. And you can allow your own waves of emotion, of thought, of sensation to rise and fall in the same way. Not controlling, not suppressing, just witnessing with compassion. This is the practice the old fisherman learned, to sit with whatever is present and allow it, to not fight the restlessness or the boredom or the discomfort, to simply be with it, breathing through it until it naturally shifts. Because everything does shift, everything changes. That is the nature of experience. The only constant is the awareness that holds it all, and you are that awareness, not the waves but the ocean, not the weather but the sky. When you rest in this knowing, nothing can truly disturb you. Oh, things will still bother you. You will still feel the full range of human emotion. But underneath there is this stable ground, this peace that is not dependent on circumstances. The fisherman could face stormy seas or empty nets without losing his center, because he had found something that could not be taken away. And you are finding that same something now, in the quiet of this night. It is not a thing you acquire, it is a recognition of what you already are. And once recognized, it changes everything. Not all at once, but gradually, naturally, like stones being cleared from a field. You cannot force this recognition. You can only create conditions for it. Conditions of rest, presence, openness. And that is what you are doing now. You are creating those conditions, offering yourself this time and space, and something is responding from deep within, something that has been waiting to be acknowledged. It is your own true nature, patient and kind, wise and strong. It has been here all along, beneath the noise and struggle, and tonight, in the silence, it is beginning to make itself known, not through words or concepts, but through feeling, through a sense of homecoming. You are arriving where you have always been. You are recognizing what you have always known. And in that recognition, the search ends, the striving ceases, and what remains is simply this, simply being, simply breathing in the dark. The hours have passed. Though you may have lost track of time, that is good. Time is a construct that we need for practical life, but that dissolves in moments of deep presence. When you are fully here, there is no time, there is only this eternal now. The past is memory, the future is imagination. Only now is real, only now exists. And when you rest in now, you rest in eternity. This is what the mystics of all traditions discovered, that eternity is not endless time, but the absence of time. It is this moment, fully inhabited, completely accepted. The breath happens in now. The heartbeat happens in now. Awareness itself is always now, never then or when. So as you drift here between waking and sleeping, you are touching eternity. You are experiencing the timeless dimension of your being. There is nowhere else to be, nothing else to do. Just this, just now, just breath. The mind may resist this simplicity, wanting something more complex or interesting. But the deepest truths are always simple, not easy, but simple. And this truth, that peace is found in presence, is the simplest of all. You do not have to go anywhere or become anything to be at peace. You only have to be here, fully, without reservation. And slowly you are learning to do this, breath by breath, moment by moment. The learning is not intellectual, but experiential, not mental, but somatic. Your body is learning to release. Your nervous system is learning to rest. And this learning will stay with you, will become easier to access each time you practice. Sleep is the ultimate practice of letting go. Every night you release your grip on consciousness and surrender to the unknown. And every morning you return, renewed. This is death and rebirth happening on a small scale, teaching you that you can trust the process, that what looks like ending is also beginning, that what feels like loss is also gain. The old fisherman understood this, the changing tides, the cycles of abundance and scarcity, the rhythm of the seasons. He knew that life moves in waves, and resistance to this movement creates suffering. But acceptance of it, flow with it, brings peace. You are in the flow right now, letting the current of sleep carry you. Not fighting it, not forcing it, just allowing. And in this allowing, you will find the rest you need. The body knows how to sleep, how to dream, how to process and integrate the day. It does not need your help, it needs your trust. So trust now, completely. Let go of any remaining tension, any lingering vigilance. The night has you, the darkness holds you, the breath continues without your effort. All is well, all is safe, all is exactly as it should be. The stories we have shared are seeds planted in the soil of your consciousness. They will germinate in their own time, sending up shoots when the conditions are right. You do not need to remember them or understand them fully. They have done their work simply by being heard, by being held in your awareness. They have reminded you of truths you already knew but had forgotten. They have pointed you back toward your own inner knowing, your own innate wisdom. This is the purpose of all teaching, not to give you something new, but to help you recognize what was always there. The blind monk, the temple cat, the village elder, the burning library, the archer, the sculptor, the painter, the young woman on the mountain, the farmer, the fisherman, each one a different voice saying the same thing. Let go, trust, be present, allow. These simple instructions are the path to peace, to freedom, to the life you long for. And they are not instructions for tomorrow, they are available right now, in this moment. So practice them now. Let go of trying to stay awake. Trust the process of sleep. Be present with whatever arises as you drift. Allow the transition to happen naturally, without force. This is your practice tonight, and you are doing it beautifully. There is no wrong way to do this, no way to fail. You are simply here, breathing, being, and that is enough. That has always been enough. The voice that has accompanied you is fading now into silence. Soon there will be only your own breath, your own heartbeat, the subtle sounds of the night, and you will be alone, but not lonely. You will be solitary, but not separate. You are always connected to everything, always held by the web of existence. You cannot fall out of this web, cannot be lost or abandoned. You are a part of it all, and it is all a part of you. Rest in this knowing as you drift into sleep. Let it be the last thought that passes through your awareness before consciousness dissolves into dreams. You are held, you are safe, you are loved. Not by another person necessarily, though perhaps by them too, but by life itself, by existence, by the universe that gave you birth. You belong here. You have always belonged here, and nothing can ever change that fundamental truth. The candle has burned down to nothing now, the flame extinguished, only a whisper of smoke rising in the darkness. This is the natural end of things, not tragic, but simply complete. The candle gave its light for as long as it could, and now it rests. You too can rest now, your day complete, your effort sufficient. There is nothing more required of you tonight. No more trying, no more doing, no more being anyone other than exactly who you are. Just this tired body, this quiet mind, this breath rising and falling in the dark. Just this, only this, always this. And it is perfect. The world will still be there tomorrow with all its demands and opportunities. But tonight it can turn without you. Tonight you can let go and trust that all will be well, that the sunrise will come without your participation, that life will continue its vast unfolding without needing your management. You are a part of that unfolding, yes, but you are not responsible for it. You are not Atlas holding up the sky. You can put down that burden and rest. The sky will hold itself, the earth will keep turning, and you can simply be here, breathing, sleeping, dreaming. This is the final release, the deepest letting go. Not just of thoughts or tension, but of the entire sense of being a separate self who must manage and control life. You are not that. You are something much larger and much simpler. You are life itself, briefly aware of itself through this particular form. And now, for a few hours, even that awareness can rest. Even the witness can sleep, dissolving back into the unmanifest from which it arose. Do not be afraid of this dissolution. It is not death but rest, not ending but return. Return to the source, to the ground of being, to the vast silence from which all sound emerges. And in the morning you will arise again, refreshed, ready to dance the dance of form once more. But for now, let it all go. Let everything fall away until only breath remains, and then let even the breath be breathed by the body without your watching. Let awareness itself rest, not monitoring, not witnessing, just being. This is sleep, this is peace, this is home, and you are arriving now, slowly, gently, inevitably. The threshold has been crossed without you noticing exactly when. The stories are over, the teaching complete, the night deep and full. There is only this now, this quiet dissolving, this gentle falling into rest. And as you fall, you are held, always held, by something that cannot be named but only felt. Trust it now, completely. Let it have you. Let everything go. The breath slows, the heartbeat slows, consciousness dims like a lamp being slowly turned down. And in that dimming, in that fading, there is no fear, only relief. Only the sweet release of finally being able to stop, to put it all down, to rest, to sleep, to be nothing and no one for a while. Just this darkness, this silence, this peace. This is enough. You are enough. All is well. All is well. All is well.